morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks. Jack and Keith's weekend playbook right here on the McGrath streaming podcast project. I know Brian's shortened this, and I don't know what he's shortened.
Just one word. McGrath streaming podcast. I like that, but you got the word project in there, and that makes it a tongue twister.
I think the project needs to be in there because of it's a group of things, right? It's not just one podcast; it's a group of podcasts. So it's got to be something in there to. He told me what it was, and I forgot now. Anyway, welcome in my co-host Jack Hirsch, Boxing Hall of Fame writer and sometimes all-around sports guru.
I like that line. The way I've been picking them lately. That's.
I had to qualify a little bit. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Good morning.
Our last show of 2025, and this has been one interesting NFL season, and yesterday continued that trend with teams we didn't expect to win. I didn't get to make all the picks, but I actually had the Browns and the Dolphins yesterday to win. So anyway, listen. This is a crazy game. The Bills, I think they were. I don't know what they were doing at the end of that game myself, but there's a lot of things to talk about. We'll go through all the games. What's your biggest takeaway yesterday? What's your thought about the overall situation?
My biggest takeaway was the absolute disgust that I have with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am absolutely disgusted with them. And I woke up this morning, when I went to bed last night, I wasn't as disgusted because I didn't realize their scenario of getting bumped out of the playoffs. I knew yesterday that if they can be even with the Panthers going into the final game of the season, I mean, they could be a game behind the Panthers, but they have the final game in Tampa Bay. You win that game, you win the division. I didn't realize that if they lost to the Dolphins, the lowly Dolphins, who had Quinn Ewers starting a second NFL game, if they lost that game, the implications would go far beyond the Panthers just losing to Seattle. Even though it technically kept the Buccaneers alive for the final game, I didn't realize lurking in the background, I wasn't paying attention to this, so it's on me. I was asleep at the switch. The Atlanta Falcons, who can't win the division, but if the Falcons beat the Rams tonight, they're playing in Atlanta. I mean, the Rams are favored by 7 points. The Rams more likely to not win the game, but it's a winnable game for the Falcons tonight, especially since the Rams don't have that much to play for anymore. And then the Falcons beat the New Orleans Saints in Atlanta next Sunday, which they'd be favored to. Guess what? The Panthers can lose to the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, and that creates a three-way tie. And guess what? In a three-way tie, the Panthers win the division. They win the division. Now, if the Falcons lose one of their two games and the Buccaneers beat the Panthers in Tampa Bay, all is well. The Panthers win the division. They start the playoffs. They host the home game. But the the Buccaneers in trouble now. It's not just mano a mano against the Panthers. They have a less than 50-50 chance of making the playoffs overall now. I
told you 4 weeks ago, if they lost to the Panthers that week, they would not win another game, and they're not gonna. The Bucs have just tanked it. Yesterday's an atrocious. That was a bad performance against Miami. Miami played well. Quinn Ewers played pretty well, I thought. But
Keith, you know what would be interesting? The Buccaneers beat the Panthers something like 30-10 Sunday, and the Panthers still win the division because the Falcons won their last two games. It's been that type of season for the Buccaneers. They could finally wake up and play their best game of the year, and what would still be a big game because the Falcons-Saints game would still be going on. We'll know more tomorrow morning, Keith, because the Rams play the Falcons tonight. If the Rams win, then the Buccaneers in good shape. It's them against the Panthers head on for the division title. But let the Falcons win tonight, and the Buccaneers are in deep trouble because they have to then beat the Panthers, and they have to hope the Falcons lose to the Saints. And as well as the Saints have been playing, I don't think they're going to beat the Falcons in the final game in that scenario.
Well, I don't think the Falcons are going to win either one of these last two games. I don't think the Bucs are winning in either one of them either. You know what I'm happy about though? There's no really good team that's going to be left out of the playoffs with an 8-9 NFC South division winner, because then we'd be hearing the screaming about we got to do away with divisions and all. I don't want to do away with divisions. I think that's still an integral part of the game. And there's been talk in the last for 10 years when somebody good gets left out and somebody less worthy in their opinion gets in, we talk about doing away with divisions, just taking the whatever it is, 8 best teams, 7 best teams, whatever gets in. I don't want to see that.
I could tell you the story, Keith, the way the NFL used to be. I think this was maybe a year before the Super Bowl started. The Western Division of the NFL had the Baltimore Colts and the Los Angeles Rams. Going into week 14, the final game of the season, the Rams had only 1 loss. The Colts were unbeaten, but they had like 2 ties. And that decided who was going to advance, win that short playoff for the NFL championship. Can you imagine that? You lose your first game the final week of the season and you don't advance.
Well, remember, only 2 teams were getting in, though, then, weren't there? So
yeah, at that time. Yeah. But I don't want to hear the complaining about divisions that, how can the team with a sub-500 record get in this and that? If you want justice, Keith, just let the team with the best record in the NFL in the season be the champions. Or give me the team with the best record in the AFC against the best record in the NFC and let them play it off. I mean, we got these divisions for a reason. They create interest, and that's fair. And it's fair at the end because as much of an injustice as it might be to one team one year, they get to make it up another year. It goes around, comes around with these records. Like the Seattle Seahawks was 7-9 one year. And they went to the playoffs during the Super Bowl era, and they actually won a game before losing to the Chicago Bears. I think that's the year the Bears played Indianapolis in the Super Bowl.
I believe that's correct. And James is asking, is Baker hurt? I think he got hurt in the Lion game, and I think he hasn't been the same since. But I'm sorry.
He threw in the second half. Like, I held my head immediately when the ball was thrown.
If he's hurt that bad that he's playing that badly, then he shouldn't be playing. You're either injured or you're hurt. If you're hurt, you play, and you can't lose 7 out of 8. I don't care how badly you're hurt.
He still made some plays. The defense has been spotty with the Buccaneers. It's been kind of like a team effort. But keep this in mind. The Buccaneers have been competitive in every game. They've been competitive. These have been close. They've been losing.
No moral victories, Jack.
No moral victories. But what I'm saying, that they were winnable games. This isn't a case of the New York Jets getting blown out, where, these are competitive games. And you keep thinking you're going to turn it around. And in the meantime, it's frustrating that you haven't turned it around. I compare to the stock market. Remember 2008? Did you have money in the stock market, Keith?
Oh, yeah.
That was killing you that time. Day after day, you kept waiting for it to turn around. It would torture you. And then you'd think of taking your money out of the stock market. After a while, you can't take it anymore.
You should never take your money out anyway, because you're buying stock at a lot less money as well. So it will always rebound. Anyway, I thought I was going to work.
And I kept thinking that would be the case with the Bucs, and it might still be.
Well, you got your money in now. You're in too deep.
The NFL works in crazy ways. I can tell you a scenario. The Bucs at home Sunday. If they win, if they get in the playoffs now, depending if the Falcons lose tonight, they win that game. The Bucs, first game they host at home. Then they got to play on the road.
Who they're going to play, Jack? They're going to play somebody from the NFC West, and they're
No. But if a wild card, but if they win a second game, they're in the playoffs, and the wild card team advances, they could conceivably host the NFC Championship game with a sub-500 record.
Conceivable. Yeah. So they're going to host the Seahawks, or they're going to or the Rams? And you think they're going to beat one of those teams?
Well, the Seahawks might win their division. Just might get the bye.
Then they get the 49ers.
Well, we'll see. That's a heck of a game that's going to be next week, Seahawks and 49ers, to see who gets the bye.
They're going to get one of those teams. They're not winning a game. Nobody's winning a game from that division. They're not winning a game in the playoffs.
No. It doesn't mean they're going to get the team with the bye, Seahawks and Niners.
I didn't say that. The second seeded team they'll get. They're going to be. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're right. They're going to be the fourth.
Not the wild card team might emerge. We never know what's going to happen. Listen,
that's my bad. I'm not going to get the second seed. That's my bad. Because I forget they're getting the fourth seed.
I mean, I'll give you a scenario. Let's say the Packers play really well in the playoffs and they get to the NFC Championship game and the Bucks somehow get there. Bucks would be hosting Green Bay at Tampa. That's just what I'm saying. Listen, it's insanity right now even for me to talk that way, because I put the Bucks' chances today of getting into the playoffs at something like 35% only. That's it. Now, if the Rams beat the Falcons, I rate it now better than 50-50 because all they have to do is beat the Panthers. No easy chore. I can understand people saying that.
You better stay out of casinos. You should stay out of casinos. Do not walk into a casino, Jack, because you're going to be like walking out.
Wait, were you the guy that left the Baltimore Ravens for dead? Did you do that or what?
No, I did not leave them for dead.
Look at the Ravens and look at
them for dead. Never.
But a lot of people did. They thought the year was over.
I know.
I mean, yesterday Lamar Jackson was getting bashed on the show like the year's been all a failure with the Ravens.
Here, I'll give you an example. Baker Mayfield's out there playing his heart out. He apparently is hurt. Lamar Jackson doesn't go out there and play in the biggest game of the year for them. He doesn't even try to play. With a back.
We're gonna hear more about this later. I gotta trust Lamar Jackson. I gotta trust that he's enough of a leader that if he's well enough to be out there, he'll be out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump on Lamar Jackson. I need more evidence before I condemn Lamar Jackson. And I think people have to wait and see because Lamar Jackson is giving you enough of a body of work.
I'll read the article.
That he's dogging it. I haven't heard whispers of discontent amongst his teammates. If I start hearing whispers of discontent, teammates complaining, yes. Well, look, a similar story came out a while ago with Carson Wentz on the Eagles. It was written by my buddy, Joe Santoliquito, who actually succeeded me as president of the Boxing Writers Association of America. Joe's a close friend. Joe's a sports writer in general. Joe let me know before the story came out, he confided in me that his Carson Wentz story is going to create a lot of waves, and it went national. And the story was the discontent that the Eagle players, a number of them, had towards Carson Wentz because of his indifference, it seemed. And when the story came out, it was condemned, but guess what? Later on, it rang true. Everything came out, and that was the case with Carson Wentz. We'll ultimately find out Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, runner-up another year, easily could have been a 3-time MVP. I got my trust in Lamar Jackson.
Well, I don't think Baltimore does anymore, so they may be looking for plan B. Let's move on to the Jets and Patriots. I know we're going to say the Jets stink, and they do. The Jets stink. Drake May, as good as any quarterback, has played all year this year yesterday. I don't care who he played against. Drake May is winning the MVP. It's
Drake May was playing flag football yesterday. Come on. That's what it was.
Or Drake May is winning the MVP. I told you last week he'd win the MVP. Stafford can go back out and get it. Josh Allen took himself out yesterday.
It tightened up yesterday. It really tightened up. I got to ask you this. Is Drake May the primary reason that they're winning?
Yes.
We think of Mike Grable as being the primary reason the Patriots are winning. They have a very well-balanced team. That's what we think about. When we think about the Bills, we don't think about a well-balanced team. In all due respect to James Cook, who's having a wonderful year, we think of Josh Allen as putting the team on his back. Him missing the throw yesterday in the end zone, as little as one play could be the difference making the vote.
Because that's a horrible throw. First of all, it's a horrible call. They should have gone for one. The way they're playing, they had given up 17 yards. 17 yards in the second half to the Eagles. There is zero reason to try to end the game there. None.
Keith, they missed an extra point.
How
would you have felt? Listen,
the guys to make another one. One thing shouldn't have anything to do with the other. They should have tried to continue that game, and they're going to have multiple possessions. At least they're going to get two possessions, and the Eagles had not moved the ball for an entire half. They didn't have any first down.
Yeah, sometimes the team's got a lead and they sit on it a little bit. That may have been the case with the Eagles. It may have been that they had the lead, were just holding it. And especially when the Eagles held Buffalo on that goal line stance when they were up 13-0. When the ironic part about it, had they gone for field goal when they were down 13-0, it would have ultimately been a difference maker. But I supported them going for it at the time. What happens if they went for the extra point to tie the game at the end and they missed it? You would have been utterly disappointed.
They lost anyway, so that's not an argument. They lost anyway. They didn't just risk that game. They put any chance of winning the division off the table.
But Josh Allen makes the throw. He makes the throw. So they win.
Why would you give yourself one chance? In this situation, I agree with going for two in a lot of situations. I'm a big proponent of it. Not in this situation. You had held that team to 17 yards in the second half. You're going to give yourself one play to win the game instead of an entire drive to win the game, or maybe two drives to win the game. It was just not a good call.
But what about this theory? And James pointed it out on a private text. Josh Allen may have been so beat up. They wanted to end the game at Buffalo basically when they had a chance, because to send them out there to play more football, couple of more series. Sometimes a player's at the end of the line. He's like just physically and mentally beaten down, and you try to get out of there when you can.
I'd be shocked if that was the reason they made that play. And if they did, Josh Allen would say, I can go out there and play overtime. I don't buy that one at all. I'm sorry, James, no offense to you, but I don't. If that's the philosophy, I think it's horrible philosophy. Your defense, why not go put some faith in your defense, who had held the Eagles again to no first downs? Well, maybe they had one first down. They had 17 yards. Oh, my gosh, terrible. I was going to go to the Jets because I thought Aaron Glenn is safe. I'm not so sure anymore. Did you know? I just found this out this weekend. I did not know this. The Jets have not had an interception the entire season.
The Jets haven't had a turnover. They were setting an NFL record or something. But who cares? I mean, just play good defense. You don't have to get any turnovers ever as far as you play good defense.
Well, yeah. But no team has ever gone an entire season without an interception. 13 in a row is the most. They're now at 17 or 16, and no team's ever gone an entire season without an interception.
And I don't want to hear the Sauce Gardner deal, because Sauce missed a couple of games of calf injury, and yesterday he tried playing and had to leave early. He hasn't exactly helped the Colts out, and Sauce might not turn out to be the player he was projected to be. He had a great rookie year, not as good as second year, and the third year, kind of iffy at this point. Aaron Glenn keeps talking about they're building something. What are the Jets building? What are they building? It kind of reminds me of when I was going to a boxing press conference and a buddy was with me, and I told security he's with me, and they said to me, well, who the heck are you? You know what I mean? What the heck are they building? What are they building, the Jets? I want to know. I don't see any progress anywhere. Listen, if I have to throw the Jets a bone, I'll say the special teams.
Willis isn't going to do it either.
The special teams on balance have been good. Bryce Hall has, emerged a little bit again. I think the Jets should sign him, after having a down year in the second year, his third year has been a good year. I know Garrett Wilson was out, Elijah Vera Tucker's out. Put those guys in. It just wouldn't be much better. I mean, they're not building anything. But you don't fire a coach after 1 year. And you especially should know this, Keith. I think you would support this. I mean, Gerard Mayo is a perfect case. If Mike Vrabel wasn't available to anyone like that, it would have been unfair to fire Gerard Mayo. It would have been very unfair.
I do agree.
But because you had Mike Vrabel, you couldn't afford to lose him, Robert Kraft. He had to move on it. There are no Mike Vrabels out there. Point one out to me who could a hot coaching candidate. I don't see any.
I don't think there's one guy. The only guy I can think of, and I don't think they'd go that direction, is say John Gruden that wanted to coach the Jets.
I do not want to recycle John Gruden. I don't want a coach that could bring a team back to being a 500 team for years to come. And don't tell me, well, it's better than what you have now. I'd sooner lose the way I am now than to have no shot at getting to the Super Bowl. It's all about having a legitimate chance of getting to the Super Bowl.
Is there a guy anywhere in college, retired, come out of retirement, wanted to leave his job now? Is there a guy you would fire him for? How about Marcus Freeman? I'm just throwing a couple.
Marcus Freeman strikes me as a wonderful human being. He's a good coach. He's a player's coach. I like Marcus Freeman a lot. You really think he'd have an impact in the NFL?
Not with the Jets.
You know what I would do if I were the Jets? I'd give Aaron Glenn another year because it would be unfair 1 year. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not optimistic they're going to improve a great deal next year. They might, but he deserves the chance because you look at the history of coaches who had terrible first years, Jimmy Johnson, Bill Parcells, Dan Campbell. You look at, those are just some of them.
Yeah.
If you imagine you didn't give those guys a second year.
Agreed.
So he should get another year, Aaron Glenn. But if it didn't work out, I would actually go back to Robert Saleh, believe it or not. They had the right guy in Robert Saleh. And if you need any evidence, look at yesterday's game. At the end of the game, the big play on defense was made by Bryce Huff, who, after he left the Jets and went to the Eagles, Vic Fangio, their defensive coordinator, couldn't do a thing with him. He was irrelevant. So what happens? Saleh, the defensive coordinator, the Niners, gets his guy Bryce Huff back with him. And Bryce Huff turns into a really good play again. Rex Ryan too, Rick. I was going to mention him. With Rex, the team would be better. The team would be better.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Part of the problem with the Jets, I don't want to say they quit. I hate saying that about players, but it's as if they quit. The tackling is atrocious. They're flat out bad. But, has Woody Johnson, is he going to be exasperated? Let's say the Jets lose to the Bills 34-7 and they end the season on the worst possible note. Okay? I mean, he might just feel, I don't care, I'll pay him his money. I got to have someone else coach.
Yeah. I think it's 80-20. I don't think they fire him. I really don't. And I don't think they should. I think he should get another year. And there's nobody out. Like you said, if there was somebody out there, I would say. But
I better see a substantial improvement, in how the team plays. They got to be competitive. And I don't want to hear that their next season they come back, they're 6-11, and I hear about all this wonderful progress being made.
Matthew Stafford has had a great year, James. So is Drake May. He's at 30. He's 30-8, and he's also completing 73% of his passes.
What's hurting Stafford is this in the MVP voting. The Rams slipped in the division, at least for that, behind the Niners and the Seahawks. Right.
He also was playing at a better team to begin with, right? He's not going to have the perception of making that team better. They were already good. So that goes against him as well. I'm not saying he shouldn't win. He's had a great season. I'm okay if he wins. I think Drake May.
Yeah, he deserves consideration. There's still another game to play. So, we'll see.
Elsewhere yesterday, we talked a little bit about the Steelers, and I thought I had one more comment here.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the Steeler game. I was a little annoyed with Myles Garrett whining. Oh, the Steelers' whole game plan was to contain him. Of course, it was to contain him. Mike Tomlin admitted that they weren't containing him to stop him from breaking the record per se. He needed one more sack. You always game plan around Myles Garrett because he's the biggest threat. And Mike Tomlin said, we did the same thing we did the first time we played him. It wasn't about the record. I hope Myles Garrett gets it next week against the Bengals, okay? I hope he gets it in that scenario. And it had to be frustrating because Aaron Rodgers isn't the most mobile quarterback. But, the Steelers game plan, against Myles Garrett. Everyone does.
As they should, and I am disappointed. I like Myles Garrett, I really do. But to be talking about your own individual accomplishments or lack of, as opposed to the victory they just had, their biggest win of the year, is ridiculous. They
asked him about it. He's got to talk about it. Reporters ask him, what's he going to say? No comment. I'm just glad we won the game. Yes. Nothing else matters. He was being honest. But
the right answer is what you just gave.
No. He was being honest, but he was saying how he felt. And he should fess up to himself. Look, they game plan to stop me. It'll be a downer for Myles Garrett if he doesn't get the record, because when you're so close to getting it and you have games left and you can't close it out and get it, one of those things about that record, Michael Strahan's name should be taken off that. The more, I think of it, I get annoyed. If I'm Michael Strahan, I'm embarrassed to get that record because Brett Favre absolutely tanked it on that stat. And Brett Favre sold out his own teammates on the Packers. They worked so hard to prevent Strahan from getting the record, and then he sells them out by tanking it. And Strahan is all proud. Oh, I'm the record breaker. If I'm, Mark Gastineau's an easy mark because he's no pun intended, but because he's acted like a knucklehead.
Well, he's
throughout his career. But Mark Gastineau had every right to be legitimately upset over what transpired on that sack record. He should get his sack back. There should be an asterisk on that, thing with Michael Strahan at the very least.
I don't disagree. Listen, I hope Garrett gets it. And I'm not saying he didn't talk about the win, James, either. That's all I want to hear, though. He does not need to bring up his own personal accomplishment that he's chasing at all. I know they asked him about it. All he needs to do is say, that doesn't matter. We beat our arch rival today. That's all he needs to say.
Hey, they're not going anywhere, the Browns, right now. It's not like they're talking playoffs. The big news in any Cleveland Brown game right now is Myles Garrett, number one, trying to get the sack record. Number two is how Shedeur Sanders is coming along. Number three is whether the Browns win.
Wrong.
Let's be honest about it. That's the interest in any Cleveland Brown game right now. No one hardly gets a darn they win or lose the game.
It's totally irrelevant that they kept the Steelers from clinching the division.
No, the Steelers were the big story yesterday. The sack record. The Steelers trying to clinch the division was number two. Shedeur Sanders was number three. The Browns winning the game was, in the back of all that.
This is a team game. You know what? Drake May, you asked about who's responsible. That entire team's responsible. The whole Cleveland Brown team is responsible for keeping the Steelers from clinching yesterday. That's the story. They should be proud of that. They played with pride and didn't quit when they quit.
If you had ESPN scouting you, doing one of our shows, and they're thinking of signing you to a contract to do a show on ESPN.
I'd throw you under the bus.
They see you perform with me, and you don't get that contract based on how you performed in that show, and then they interview you later, and you're going to say, oh, all I cared about was having a good show, a nice show with Jack. That's all I cared about. Come on, get out of here.
I would be saying I want to do my best to bring Jack along with me. That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, well, come on.
Well, it's hypothetical. It's not happening.
Yeah. You never know. You never know.
58 years old, Henry Jones. Chris has got me with his irreverent birthdays. Thank you, Chris, for the birthday wish, though. I don't know what James is laughing at. Probably this ridiculous conversation we're having. Elsewhere yesterday, what else happened yesterday? There's so many games. Let me go through the games quickly. It's already 8:31. Let's go down the list of games from yesterday, and we'll just the ones we haven't already talked about anyway. I can't seem to get to my scoreboard. Here we go. All right. Cardinals, Bengals, nothing much to talk about. I guess the Bengals showing a little pride and blowing the Cardinals out. I don't see anything to talk about.
I don't know pride. I mean, the Cardinals are bad. They've been one of the big disappointments. After next weekend, you and I should name the most disappointing team in the NFL this season. We have one more week to go, so let's see how it plays out.
That's
right. Now, the Cardinals absolutely would be a candidate. At this moment, the Buccaneers would be a candidate. If the Ravens lose in Pittsburgh next week, they might be a candidate. And there are a couple of more. There's always teams that are disappointing. I could say the Falcons, but what else do you expect from the Falcons at this point?
Rick still talked about the Cleveland victory and how somebody else talked about it. So I don't know.
No, it's important. These guys don't. You know what the problem is with some of the listeners out there? They don't listen. I shouldn't call them listeners. I should say people who tune in, because they're certainly not listeners at all. I mean, they don't hear what's said exactly. Like even with Robert Salah, there was a comment that put in, I said, he would be a good guy to bring back. Of course they're not bringing him back. I mean, I know that. They're not bringing Robert Salah back. But on reflection, they would have been better off just keeping Robert Salah, because he's showing what type of coach he is. Going back to the 49ers, a prime reason the 49ers are in position to have the best record in the NFC is because of Robert Salah. Their defensive coordinator.
To our loyal followers and listeners, I'd like to point out that this station does not necessarily agree with all the comments that come from their commentators. Just to be clear. Anyway, did we lose half of them? Let me see. No, we didn't. We gained listeners there. Jack, good job.
Yeah.
More.
As far as Brian goes, you could talk all with Aaron Glenn was with the Detroit Lions. So he is always going to have that loyalty to Aaron Glenn. But Aaron Glenn has been awful this year. Let's be honest about it.
Has been awful.
He's been awful. The Jets were projected by me to go about 7-10 on the season. No great expectations. Did anyone think the Jets were going to be this awful? Come on, let's be honest. No, you didn't think they were going to be this bad.
Not this bad. We'll jump to the Bears quickly because Donna wants to talk about her Bears against the 49ers. The defense was terrible. Caleb Williams played a pretty good game, but Purdy was just awesome. That last touchdown, I don't know if it was the last touchdown or maybe when they went up 35-28. Just a tremendous scramble. Great play. He's playing some really good football right now.
He's playing great football. He threw that pick six early. That was awful, but then he played a great game.
Great game.
When Mac Jones was winning games with the 49ers, we were hearing all this talk, who should start? Should the 49ers roll with Mac Jones as a starter for now? And of course not. Can Mac Jones be a starter in the league? Again, perhaps. I'm not ruling him out as a starter. I'm not ruling him out. He had a good rookie year with the Pats before Belichick and staff ruined him after that. But he kind of reset his career as the 49er backup.
He needs a right situation, right? He doesn't need to go to the Jets to be their stopgap. That's not where he's going to thrive, that's for sure. So,
well, you never know. I'm going to tell you why. Just have a bunch of draft picks. If they get another receiver early, And if I'm the Jets, I make some bold moves. I have a number one picks. I call up Arizona. I want Marvin Harrison, who's underachieved, who I still think could be a great receiver. I put him on the other side of Garrett Wilson, two Ohio State guys, opposite bookends, and I start building. I mean, I have some draft capital. I call the Falcons up. Kyle Pitts, their tight end. I look into him, guys who are attainable on the trade market, who could really make a big impact.
Again, just like quarterbacks, I don't give up on receivers really early. Who's a great Cardinal receiver?
Larry Fitzgerald.
He didn't start like gangbusters. He had a down first season. I know it's 2 seasons for Harrison, but don't give up on receivers too early. Just like quarterbacks, you sometimes bite yourself, cut off your nose and spite your face there. And I do think this was that was probably the best game that we had to watch.
Well, getting back to the Browns-Steelers game, the absence of DK Metcalf might wind up costing the Steelers the division if they lose to Baltimore next week. Because yesterday's game, if they had DK Metcalf, I'm not saying they win the game. I'm saying they might have won that game. They very well might have won it.
Did you watch any of that game?
Yeah, I watched a good part. I was flip-flopping back and forth between the Buccaneer-Dolphin game and the Steeler-Brown game. Yeah.
I go to a place where there's a bunch of Steeler fans, so the game's always on when we're there, and the Patriots are as well. That's why we go there. But Aaron Rodgers was awful. Listen, every great wide receiver ever played could have played in that game. They would have lost because Aaron Rodgers was just god awful, and he spent the entire game looking around for people to yell at. He
doesn't have any weapons without DK Metcalf. The personnel is terrible there.
Not a matter yesterday. He was god awful yesterday. He had guys open and missed them. He's throwing balls at guys' feet all day.
Yeah, some of the throws were bad, granted, but a lot of it's deception that we don't know what's going on, that he's mad because Rodgers is a rhythm quarterback. These guys have to know what spot to be at. He delivers the ball before they get to the spot. Then they got to get to the spot. That's how he's been his whole career, especially the later stages.
This guy needs 4 hands to be able to point the fingers he needs to point around that during the game. He's unbelievable. I would hate to have that guy be my quarterback. Sorry, Steeler fans. I think Steeler fans feel the same way right now, too, based on the sample size I had yesterday.
Did you go to a place that had 6 games going on at once, Keith? Keith, this is what I don't understand about you at all. You're the first one who says if you have more than one quarterback, you have no quarterbacks. If you have more than one quarterback, fine. But you're the same guy who's going to watch 6 games at once. To me, if you're watching more than one game at once, you're watching no games. I can't be. I can turn play to play the channel back. Don't misunderstand me. I do that sometimes.
Some of us can.
You can watch 6 games at once and have your head going in the screen and concentrate.
Well, first of all, it's easier to do when your team's winning 42-14. So you can multitask a lot better that way. I'll just make that point. When I've got a good game, I'm focused on my game, quite frankly.
Who's MHJ?
I don't know who that is.
MHJ didn't help himself either. Who's MHJ?
I don't know because we got 2 references. MHJ did not quarterback play too. Who are we talking about? You got to help me out here. Jack, I don't know what Donna disagrees with you about something. It could be anything. LL Cool J. I see. Chris.
Funny. I once, I'm friends with LL Cool J's personal physical conditioner. And I called him once, and he was in the LL. I could tell you a couple of LL stories, but there's a better LL Cool J story. I didn't know who LL Cool J was many years ago. He's sitting next to me at the Fights in Yonkers, a club show. And I was going to start a conversation with him, not knowing who he was, asking him what publication he wrote for.
The show.
Because he's in the media section, and there was no media there outside of media, because it was a small club show. and Yonkers. But then I notice people coming up to the guy like he's popular. And then I find out who he is after. I still didn't know who LL Cool J was,
Get him on the
later
show.
on.
And the reference actually is because he wants to know what's the current Philip Rivers report. Philip
One
Rivers.
more game to go for Philip Rivers.
Philip Rivers is about to retire again, by the way.
What do you do?
Played
Philip Rivers played poorly.
Yeah, 17 to 30, 147 yards, a touchdown and interception. Terrible.
Okay, let me ask you another question. Is Philip Rivers, based on merit, good enough to be a second-string quarterback, a backup on the Colts? Is he good enough?
Possibly. He said yesterday after the game he was not coming back.
Yeah, okay, but you never know. Let's say he plays a really good game, and the Colts make an off-season move. Let's say it's Daniel Jones they bring back, and Daniel Jones will be ready for the fourth game of the season, hypothetically. Would you feel comfortable with Philip Rivers as your backup, a full training camp, running the offense the first 3 games till Daniel Jones gets ready? And then the Colts, of course, would be moving on from Anthony Richardson, that scenario. Would you be okay with that?
Given the state of backup quarterbacks in this league, yes. But again, I want to make sure, as long as he doesn't need to play a lot, because we had talked yesterday about Rivers, and you can't go into a season expecting him to play 17 games. As a backup, got to play 2 or 3 games here and there, in shape. And he could also help Daniel Jones as well. I mean, there's another.
The backups in the league. Okay, Andy Dalton's the backup on the Panthers for Bryce Young. Isn't Philip Rivers comparable to Andy Dalton at this stage?
I would say Philip Rivers is good as almost all the backup quarterbacks I've seen this year.
There's your answer. Okay, if he comes back as a backup, fine. That's what he is now. Philip Rivers is their third option right now. If Anthony Richardson hadn't had that freak injury, he would be playing. Anthony Richardson would have had a chance to, restart his career, basically, had he been given this, he would have been given this opportunity had he not been injured.
In that game specifically, by the way, Jacksonville probably plays their worst game in about 2 months, including Trevor Lawrence, and they find a way to win this game. I think the Colts didn't have much to play for. I get it. But these are the type of games where it's easy to go out and lose them. And the fact that they came out a winner here, I think, is impressive in itself. When you cannot play your best and still find ways to win, it's another mark of a good team. So
absolutely. You're not going to dominate teams week after week. You're going to have some games where you're so. And yeah. The Colts are 8-8, and I thought they'd be about an 8-9 team. And when they got off to their start, boy, was I looking bad. I said, "Wow, this is a good team. This is a Super Bowl contender."
I think it's
ironic. About the wheels coming off. Who is the wheels come off more? The Colts or the Buccaneers? They've come off both of them after great starts.
I think it's even for sure. I think it's ironic that the Colts got off to this great start. We all fell for them. We all said they were a great team and they could do a lot of great things. And Jacksonville, we were all putting down until about 2 weeks ago. So it's interesting that how things can change. There was a comment up here for James put up about Shuck. Shuck played another really good game yesterday, and the Saints win again, get their 5th win. I'm impressed with what Shuck has done so far.
Shuck played the Tennessee Titans defense, which isn't as good as the Cleveland Browns defense. Say what you want about their record, okay, the Cleveland Browns. If you're just talking about strictly the defensive unit, they have a good defensive unit, okay, that's comparable to some of the fine ones in the NFL. It's where they struggle, the Browns, is on the offensive side of the ball. So that's where Rodgers is going against. He wasn't playing against the Cleveland offense. He was playing against a good defensive unit. And Rodgers has no weapons at all. It's interesting. People want to give other quarterbacks a pass because they have no weapons. Well, Cam Waters, no one on offense to throw to, a handoff to.
Give anybody.
But they won't give a guy like Rodgers slack. And look, the Steelers are going to have a winning record this year. I mean, Rodgers, all in all, has had a decent year for the Steelers. But if they let the playoffs get away and lose to the Ravens Sunday, it'll be disappointing. I didn't think the Steelers were going to have much of a year. I said it was going to be one and done. They'd go something like 6-11. Tomlin was going to quit at the end of the year, and Rodgers was going to retire.
And I think
they've overachieved a little bit, the Steelers, at least to this point. But yesterday's loss put them in a bad position. Now they got to beat the Ravens Sunday, and that's going to be tough.
One game we haven't chatted about at all was the Seahawks and the Panthers. The Seahawks go in there and do exactly what I thought they'd do. They're a better team, and the Panthers are just too inconsistent. Sam Darnold not with a great game, but this defense is just smothering. I think it's the best defense in football right now.
Well, if I'm the Panthers, I just hope like anything that the Falcons beat the Rams tonight. It's easy to say, oh, well, we got to win Sunday, and they might very well have to get into the playoffs. But if the Falcons win, as I said earlier, they beat the Rams tonight, they head into Sunday, the Panthers in great shape. Because even if they lose to the Buccaneers, all the Falcons have to do is beat the Saints. And the Panthers win the division now. It's so much is on the line in tonight's game. You know, the Rams and the Falcons, more than people realize. More than I realized till this morning. It hit me like a ton of bricks.
You got me. I did not have that scenario in my head at all. So, you know, the other game we haven't talked about is the Giants and the Raiders. And the Giants played well. But they kind of, you know, I never root for my team to lose. I'm sitting with some Giant fans yesterday who are all pissed off because this team played so well and maybe cost themselves a number one pick. That's not the way you should be rooting for your team.
But let me throw this at you. A few years ago, the Jets had a scenario where it looked like they were going to have the number one pick. Then they upset the Rams, a playoff team, in Los Angeles. They upset them. So when all was said and done, the Jets had the second overall pick. The first overall pick was Trevor Lawrence, went to the Jags. The Jets with the second overall pick took Zach Wilson. The Jets would have been better served with Trevor Lawrence. Now, how successful Lawrence would have been with the Jets, he wouldn't have knocked it out of the park, let's be honest about it, because he hasn't quite done it with the Jags.
No.
But Lawrence might still be the Jet quarterback. He might be developing. Certainly, it would have been much better than what they did in drafting Zach Wilson.
You know, one thing with the Giants I want to talk about this season that seems like a lost season. I think there's some good things that have come out of this season. I think you've seen enough of Dart to know that you've got a chance to be your quarterback. The other big
thing has come out of the Giants season. Get out of here.
Hold on. Can I finish what I was going to say before you tell me it's wrong? Jeez. Just because everything I say is wrong doesn't mean that.
This is called damage control, Keith. We're trying to help you out here.
That's a good line, actually. They have found a number 2 receiver when Malik Nabers comes back healthy. Wan'Dale Robinson has had a really, really good season for the Giants this year, and that is a little hidden gem. I like this kid coming out of Kentucky. And he has really done nothing up until this year. He's going to have 100 catches.
Keith, in the worst teams, historically, the worst teams, someone is going to stand out. It's an illusion. Someone has got to run the ball and pick up yards. Someone has got to catch the ball. It doesn't make them winning players. Malik Nabers is outstanding. But it doesn't mean the Giants and Robinson have a viable number 2 receiver. Possibly they do.
They do.
It doesn't mean that at all.
We'll revisit this. You're the same guy who keeps telling me the Patriots are not going to come out wanting to win or play well or whatever.
No, well, what I said, the Patriots were not going to be highly motivated against the Jets.
They were.
The Jets are awful. The Patriots played with them. I thought the Patriots would win by like 17 points. I thought they just beat them on talent alone. You don't know that whether the Patriots were motivated for the game. They beat the Jets too easy. Were they psyched? Were they celebrating New England? Were they psyched
What
for
do they
this
need to
game?
celebrate for? You don't celebrate beating a team in Week 17 that they should beat. That's not what shows
You
your.
don't get psyched for that, for a game like that.
When you go out there and you score the first 7 times you touch the football, and your quarterback completes 90% of his passes.
You don't have to be motivated to beat the Jets. You just have to show up and
Nobody goes out and plays that well. Nobody plays that well when you're not motivated. That means you're gonna bring that team and play more to that level of the team you're playing.
It was a combination. The Jets were that bad and New England was that good. It worked hand in hand.
This is 2 weeks you tried to pull that on me, that this team is not going to be motivated tonight or today. This is 2 weeks. I keep telling you, you don't understand what's going on there.
No. Again, you didn't listen. They had played the Bills and the Ravens back to back. And when you play 2 games like that back to back, and then you have the Jets, you're not as psyched for the Jets as you were for the 2 games before. And as a result,
this team
chances are you're not going to play as well as you can. And in that point, I was wrong. They did play as well as they could.
You and too many other people
were awful on top of it.
You and too many other people are missing the whole point of the Vrabel and the change of the culture there. They're up to play every game. Every game they come out to play. Doesn't matter whether they won the week before, lost the week before.
You could say that about anyone.
No, I
you
can't.
You think that's all your New England Patriots, the only team that shows up week after week then?
Well,
Another team takes a week off?
Your team has yet to show up, so I'll say yes, I've got a case in point.
My team.
Falcons.
My team to take a line from the honeymooners when Ralph said I wouldn't and Alice said you couldn't. The Jets can't show up. They don't have the talent to show up.
I can give you a whole teams with talent. The Dolphins don't show up to play every week. The Ravens don't show up to play every week. The Bengals. Who else?
They showed up yesterday, this weekend, those teams.
Cowboys don't show up to play every week. The Eagles don't show up to play every week. Again, there's a different culture there. Everybody's missing it. Everybody's missing it. And you're going to find out. You're going to find out in the playoffs. And I haven't done this since the Patriots were just the best team in football for year after year. This team is being way undervalued because of the schedule. Go out and look how they played in those games, except for a couple. They manhandled. They've got the 3rd best point differential in football. This team is going to win in the playoffs, and this team is going to be a legitimate contender to get all the way. I'm telling you that right now.
Well, I will say this for New England, no matter what happens in the playoffs, the year has been a big success.
100%.
I mean, they've overachieved. I didn't expect this at all. I thought they'd be a sub-500 team, that they were a year away. They've absolutely overachieved. But I will say this for them for next season. They've now set the bar really high. And we saw what happened with the Washington Commanders this year. Even though you can't imagine it happening to New England. No, Commanders came 1 game away from going to the Super Bowl last year. They had the best young quarterback in football. Jaden Daniels was rated ahead of Drake May at the end of their rookie seasons by virtually everyone. And look at the dip back that the Commanders took this year. They've been awful this year. I don't anticipate that being the case with the Patriots. I don't. But you set the bar high, the expectations are going to be very high next year.
I understand that. And teams often will take a step back that second season. It happened with the Patriots under, Bill Parcells. The first time they got to the playoffs, they were awful the next year. Even in the Brady era, when they won the first Super Bowl, they didn't make the playoffs the next year. So it happens in that second year. You often get a little bit of a letdown or a tougher schedule, and you're just not ready for it. I'm only playing for this year right now. I don't care about next year. I'll worry about next year and then.
Okay, other teams in the same boat as the Patriots. You don't think the Broncos with Sean Payton are a hungry young team that's overachieved in people's eyes? Look at Jacksonville.
Another team
they've overachieved with their coach Liam Cohn. I mean, Liam Cohn, Mike Grable, as charismatic. He's more in the news as a head coach. But you don't think Liam Cohn has done a similar job with his squad?
I do.
Jacksonville,
I think
yeah.
Great job. That's why we talked about there's, 8.
You don't think Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers?
Great job.
That's a team that I thought their window was closed, and he reopened their window in quick order.
I'll be quite frank with you. If somebody beats Vrabel, I think it ought to be Kyle Shanahan because he's done a great job with that team and the weapons he lost that are gone off the team. They haven't even played. And Kittle's only played half the season. Great job.
Kittle went Williams being out during the game. I mean, just the things he's been doing.
Great coach. Well, we'll kick their asses too. I'm going to start talking like Sonia on this show. We're taking receipts.
Well, Sonia, how come Sonia's got to take some receipts as well? I mean,
and that's a great point. You know what? I know they're playing the NFC North next year. I don't really care though. I'm worried about this year. I got a game next week, and I got to get through the playoffs. I want to win a couple playoff games. I want to win the Super Bowl. This has been a successful season. I expect more now. I expect more. This AFC is wide open. They can go win this thing.
Yeah, don't they decide next month who gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? What's the deal with Robert Kraft now? Is this helping candidacy?
Kraft is a finalist right now in that the contributor. But
it's ridiculous he hasn't been in. You mean to tell me Jerry Jones has been a stronger owner than Robert Kraft? You mean to tell me his Cowboy teams have had more success?
Yeah. Him and Belichick are
I like Jerry Jones.
Finalists.
Belichick and Kraft should go in together. How can Belichick not go in?
I think they should. Well, they've kept Kraft out this long. So, I mean, Kyle's been a great coach. Anyway, any other anything we missed on the NFL you wanted to touch on and be wrong about, Jack?
No, it hasn't been a great year predicting for me, I'll say this. I mean, my two teams, my Super Bowl picks, the Ravens over the Buccaneers, are technically still alive. I mean, but the Ravens have a clear path. They did lose to the Steelers a couple of weeks ago in Baltimore, so it's not a lock. But I think the way the Ravens played against the Packers, they're back. I can't imagine, I'm just going to close on Lamar Jackson. If he's able to go, I can't imagine him not playing. The only thing I'm going to say that I have in the back of my mind that might be able to validate people's complaints, even though I don't believe it, Lamar Jackson's contract, how does it compare to some other quarterbacks right now? Does it bother him a little bit? He got a good deal when he signed, but sometimes these contracts don't age great, and he might feel it hasn't aged great, that he deserves more. Yeah. And could that be any type of factor? That's in the back of my mind. I'd have to say no, but I have to be honest, it has crossed my mind.
I will say, too, one last thing on the NFL for me, looking forward to next week. Interesting scheduling by the NFL. You've got 2 games on Saturday that had huge implications. Carolina and Tampa will play at 4:30, and Seattle and San Francisco play at night. And on Sunday, the Denver and New England games are both at 4:30, which is a little bit surprising to me. I think they wanted to have that.
If you're on the verge of getting a bye,
yeah,
and you're one game away, and you lose that game and don't get the bye, meaning you have to play 3 games instead of 2 to get to the Super Bowl, and instead of both games being at home, your first game's on the road. Mentally, that destroys a team. You saw what it did to your New England Patriots and Brady's, I think, last year there. They had to win their final game against the lowly Miami Dolphins. I shouldn't say lonely. The Dolphins were playing better, but a team that they destroyed early in the year, who they destroyed. And by losing to the Dolphins in New England, all of a sudden the Patriots had to play in a wild card round instead of having 2 games at home. It utterly destroyed the Patriots, in the playoffs. Mentally, they were out of it.
That was still a good football team, too, and it destroyed their whole season, probably. You're right.
Yeah.
And anyway, I see very little chance of New England getting that bye because Chargers have nothing to play for against the Broncos. I don't see the Broncos losing that game to the Chargers.
The only thing I can say, the Chargers are coming off a loss to Houston, in which they made a certain amount of mistakes. Chargers might be motivated to get things right. You know, momentum does come into things once in a while, and I'm not talking about winning and losing in this case. The Chargers got to straighten things out, you know, with the offensive line. Their kicker missed, you know, Saturday in an extra point and a chip shot field goal. They don't, the way they lost the game left a bad taste in the Chargers' mouth, the way they lost to Houston, because they're probably thinking we could have won that game. Let's get things straightened out, you know, this weekend. So that might be the attitude.
This is one time I hope you're right, Jack. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, well.
Before we go away, we won't be back on the air before we have the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. Big games, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. We're going to make our picks. Jack sits at 25 and 29. I have made a run to get to 30 and 25 here the last few weeks. Miami, Ohio State.
I mean, can you really pick? I mean, how's Ohio State losing with the season they had? I mean, the only game Ohio State lost was, you know, to Indiana, and Indiana was super motivated, and that was a close game that could have gone any way, low scoring. They're just better than Miami.
They lost
Miami.
The team they played. The only good team they played, Indiana. That's the only good team they played. Their resume's not that good.
In the opener. When Manning's first game, that had all that national attention. What about Michigan? You don't admit that Michigan showed up as a good team that game. They were super motivated to beat Ohio State once again.
Their resume is not stellar. I'm telling you right now, pass rush. They gave up 5 sacks all season until Indiana. They gave up 5 or 6 sacks against Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. Miami's got one of the best pass rushes, including Texas Tech is another team, but Miami's got one of the best pass rushers in the country. Reuben Bain's going to be a top 5 pick. They're going to get in the backfield. They're going to create some havoc. Miami's going to win this game outright.
Okay, I don't. If they're going to win the game, Carson Beck's going to have to play a great game.
Carson Beck has to play better than he's played for sure.
Yeah, he's going to have to play a great game. And I like I said before, I don't think any player in the draft has more at stake with how they do in the playoff round than Carson Beck.
Yeah.
Because I think you told me, I think was it before the show or during the show, he's like the 8th rated quarterback to be drafted right now.
Right now by one of the draft sites.
If Carson Beck is lights out, he can go as high as number 2 behind Mendoza. Or if he plays poorly, he could stay, at number 8, and he could be like a 4th or 5th round draft choice. Yeah. He could go anywhere from in the 1st round to the 5th round, depending on how he plays.
I think he could get him.
Quinn was one of the 7th rounds. The Carson Beck could go anywhere if he plays poorly, but
he could.
Ohio State's going to win this game, something like 27-13. I love Carson Beck, but Ohio State's too good. The defensive unit is too good as well.
27-25. Hurricanes shocked the world. Cotton Bowl, 7:30 New Year's Eve. At noontime in the Orange Bowl, which has never been played at noontime that I can remember, Oregon will play Texas Tech. This is a very interesting matchup. Oregon's another team I'm a little dubious of their resume. Texas Tech coming out of the Big 12, not a lot of respect. This is a really, really good football team, a very good defense. Their offense is getting better and healthier. Their quarterback is healthy for one of the few times all year. I like this Texas Tech team. I think they win this game.
But Oregon's quarterback, Dante Moore, has been getting better and better as the years gone along. Okay?
Pass rush. Again, pass rush.
But Dante Moore's mobile.
A little bit. He's not.
I mean, I like Oregon in the game, but to me, it's a toss-up. I mean, it's a real toss-up. I'll say Oregon 27-26. Toss up. I don't have a strong feeling.
And the Rose Bowl at 4 o'clock on New Year's Day. Alabama.
It's the college playoffs. You're labeling a Rose Bowl. You're trying to hang on to the past, Keith. Come on.
These are the bowl games that still matter, and they want them to matter, and they should.
Yeah, but we think of it as college playoff. You don't think of it as Rose Bowl.
You can think of it any way you like. Rose Bowl, Alabama and Indiana. Indiana obviously undefeated, the number 1 seed in this tournament. Alabama with a big comeback against Oklahoma. I think it ends here. I think Indiana handles them handily.
Indiana hands out a butt whipping, something like 34-14. And then you kind of wonder the alumni at Atlanta, at Alabama, is it discontent, with Coach DeBoer and all? I wonder what the aftermath is going to be in Alabama, if they lose this game decisively, which I think they will.
Real quick, James mentioned Ruben Bain again. Ruben Bain this is Miami edge rusher. By the way,
we heard that about Abdul Carter last year, and the Giants would certainly look to trade him if they could this year after 1 year in the NFL.
This guy's better. Jets ought to be looking at him with that 3rd pick. I'll tell you right now.
Fair enough.
The last game is the Sugar Bowl at 8 o'clock. Ole Miss against Georgia. Ole Miss, a great story, right? Cinderella, you mentioned earlier. Lane Kiffin's story. They showed in the first round that they don't need Lane Kiffin. They got a lot of players. Georgia. Here's the thing about Georgia. I don't like them to win the whole thing, but Georgia's the one team in this field that I feel like has gotten better all year. They've improved the most.
Defense is relentless. They're relentless.
Yeah, I like Georgia's game. I think the quarterback plays well enough. The defense keeps Ole Miss and Chambliss at bay. Probably a high-scoring game.
I'm not that sure that Ole Miss could put a lot of points on against Georgia, but I'll think in terms of Georgia winning this game, 28-17 or something like that. And the Ole Miss story, comes to an end, and their coaches who are going to LSU next year, to join Lane Kiffin leave. That's a compelling story. In a way, I'd like Ole Miss to win this game and go on to the national championship game. Can you imagine Ole Miss keeps going on this run and they win the national championship? The coaches that left Lane Kiffin, I bet there's going to be 1 or 2 of them who are going to have second thoughts about going to LSU and might ask, is it okay they stay at Ole Miss after all?
Right. You might be right. So those are our picks, and we'll see where we stand up. We got a couple of different ones. And Jack, you got Glove Fist tonight at 7 p.m.?
We have a guest, an unbeaten heavyweight in 10 fights named Bryce Taylor. Every time you have an unbeaten heavyweight, we're going to talk about his career, his future, so on. Our producer, Brian, who lives in Detroit, that's where Bryce Taylor fought a couple of weeks back, his last fight in Detroit, where he emerged victorious. The next time he fights in Detroit, we'll arrange for Brian, to go there.
There you go. Excellent job. So look forward to Glove Fist tonight at 7 p.m.
Thanks.
Guys, we won't see you before the new year. I will be doing a college football show because we didn't do one last week. I'll probably do it Wednesday afternoon. I'll send you guys a quick note. I think noontime we'll do it. But we won't be back till Friday. So Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to you, Jack. And we'll see everybody Friday morning. Have a great week.
We'll have all the college games to talk about.
We will have a lot to talk about. See you guys.